exaggeration that over the years he has been a torchbearer to many students, astronomical in number. I now request Dr. Dinesh Neelkant to inaugurate the conference.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Yashaswini. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, namaste and pranams to all of you. Good morning, one and all. Respected President, President Sir, Pro Chancellor Sir, Vice Chancellor Sir, Registrar Sir, Director of Academics and Planning, Deans and Directors, faculty members and participants. On behalf of Jain University School of Commerce, I welcome you all for this international conference. Before I start my addressing, I want to appreciate the efforts of Samshodhana, a research initiative taken by School of Commerce. And I also want to thank the people who are involved in it. Nilima, Smita, Sheetal, Nasreen, Sharmila, and Srinivas, and many more. Thank you for putting such a wonderful event, and definitely we are going to learn out of this. So once again, thanks to all of you. I also want to appreciate the presence of the chief guest, that in spite of the busy schedule, he has made it. So thank you very much, sir. Now, coming back to the topic is very interesting in today's scenario, which says business and education in new global realities. So when you say global realities, we are talking about what's happening around the world. And when we say education and business, it's going to be very interesting and a deadly combination for all of us because we belong to academic field. So let me first, whatever I'm thinking, I'm just trying to express that. And definitely you have the liberty to correct me if I'm wrong and can give your suggestions. Coming back to the point is education. So when we are talking about education, let us understand the background. The background is that we are catering to I generation. Now, what is I generation? I generation is impatient generation. And this generation is, first of all, an impatient generation, very much tech savvy. Okay. They have all the answers on the phone. Okay. They want to analyze each and everything so that they get the best out of it. So this is how your generation is. And when it comes to educating these people, it's going to be a challenge. So what is going to happen now is that learning will be professional learning. Gone are the days where we are saying that it is only learning and then writing the exams and out of 100 getting some good marks and then skill will be documented on a piece of paper. So those days have gone according to me. Now it is professional learning and it will be taught by professionals only. Otherwise, I don't want to listen to you because I know that on my phone there are n number of people who are giving me guidance on this. So, and then second part of it is that I always thought that the term of courses, if you're looking into graduation 3 years, then post-graduation 2 years. So my dear friends, the thought is that this duration is going to be reduced now. So why not all this in 2 years is your graduation and 1 year your PG and then you start earning money. Again, I have to repeat that again, where from the 12th standard onwards only people will start making money. So the concept is that now you have to design a new era of courses. So skill-based, blended learning and all that UGC has always told us and we are doing it. But why not coming out with a degree or something like Be Smart? So Bachelor of Smartness. So it's a compilation of a technology, what's happening around the world, your global realities, what you people have mentioned. And then after a lot of common sense has to be taught. And then finance, marketing, HR, the practical applications. And then your professor becomes a mentor. So this is a compilation of a graduation. So there I find that if you're going to be smart, you are going to earn money. This is what is the logic. Then you will say, sir, we have commerce, we have management, we have science. Fine, that is also to be taught. I'm not saying that. but then can we create that smartness in the student? This is what will be a challenge for educational institutes. There will be compulsory earning from 12th standard now. We are not going to wait that after graduation some masiha will come and give me a job. So after 12th standard, people will start earning. With that, in their free time, they will do education. And that education will be professional education. That education will be return on investments. That will be the education. So putting up your career on the right track. And the most important thing is that what I'm going to get out of it. So we have to design something like this, which we are going to give them. So moment people get into the industry, people get into the application based learning, and then what is needed in the market is being taught. That is what education will become now. And mind your friends that education is going to become damn cheap also. You very soon you will find that you will have the big wigs coming into the market and they're going to make education cheap. Okay, but with making education cheap doesn't mean that they are bringing down the quality. Let us not talk on the quantitative terms, let us talk on the qualitative terms also. The bigwigs are going to work on numbers, and that is what is going to make a difference. Okay, coming back to business. Now when it comes to business, business is going to become totally performance based. Payment will be now not on salary basis, but it will be more on hourly basis. So if you are good, you are being called. If you are not, forget about it. Okay. If you are good at networking, then maybe that will be a question of survival. Financial crunch will be always there, will always be there, and you have to live with it. And that is how you have to survive. Your infrastructural requirements are going to be narrowed down. So this is how it will work. And in business will be either an example or a warning to people. So this is how it will work. And this can be applied in education also. So these are my thoughts on how education and business can be looked into in future, and understanding the global realities with all this is going to be very, very crucial. So I think today's international conference will throw a lot of light on this, and we learn a lot of things out of all this. So these are my thoughts, and over to the MC. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity. And this is what I have just mentioned, a fraction of what I thought. Okay, and I think that on this, if at all we can elaborate, we can really bring out good synergy work, and that can be helpful to educational institutes. So thank you very much, and over to the MC.
Thank you, sir, for giving us an inspiring start to the day. We now move on to the keynote address on education in the new global realities. I request Professor Yashaswini to introduce our speaker, Dr. Raj Singh, Vice Chancellor, Jain deemed to be University.
Thank you, Vandana. I deem it a privilege to introduce Dr. Raj Singh, the Vice Chancellor, Jain deemed to be University. Sir is an academic administrator, teacher, consultant, trainer, speaker, and academic entrepreneur. For 10 years, Sir has been the Vice Chancellor of Ansal University, Gurgaon, Rayat Bara University, Mohali, GD Goenka University, Gurgaon, Amity University, Madhya Pradesh, Gwalior and Amity University, Dual Charge, Jaipur. Prior to that, he was the Pro Vice Chancellor at Amity University, Noida for 5 years. He has been a Director General of the prestigious Amity Business School and founding head of ICFAI Business School, New Delhi, since its inception in 1995. At a tender age of 16, Sir joined the Indian Air Force in 1981 and served there until 1994. Since January 2020, he has been advisor and consultant to 5 universities across India, including Jain deemed to be University. With masters in economics, a qualified CFA, and a doctorate in strategic finance, he has over 39 years of experience. A TEDx speaker, Dr. Singh is known for his auditory skills and innovative approach in higher education. Sir has been a trainer and consultant both Indian and multinational companies like Tata's, Air India, TCIL, Denso India, ANZ Greenlace, NTPC, Gale, SAIL, and has trained over 4,000 teachers in schools as well as higher education. Sir has published and presented research papers and delivered keynote addresses in over 80 conferences and has been a panelist in many TV shows. He represented India along with other BRICS countries at the International Design Summit held in Milan, Italy in 2013. He has widely traveled and has been a visiting professor at IIT Delhi Management Department, Delhi School of Economics. He has been on advisory boards of many institutions and universities. Education Promotion Society of India and was the vice chairman of Quality Committee on Education of QCI, Government of India. He regularly chairs the expert committees of National Board of Accreditation, member of CSIE, member of 8E Committee of FICCI North India. Sir has been conferred awards for exemplary education leadership in 2012, 2016, and 2017. Sir has been conferred with Peter Drucker Memorial Award of Excellence on November 19, 2020 for his contribution in management education. And many more to go. I now request Dr. Raj Singh, the Vice Chancellor, Jain deemed to be University, to deliver the keynote address. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Yashashwini. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir.
Our honorable chief guest this morning, Dr. Dinesh, the director of School of Management, School of Commerce, many senior colleagues from Jain Group and Jain University, faculty colleagues, delegates, brilliant students and scholars of School of Commerce, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I express my thanks for having me here this morning to deliver this talk. And I congratulate the entire team for organizing this conference. I'm very well aware what it takes to put up a conference of this size and magnitude. So heartiest congratulations. And the topic given to me is, I would say, half of the conference, Education, the New Global Realities. And the first part, I'll try to define what these new realities mean. Have new realities come just recently, or they have been coming off and on? And let me take different perspectives to see how these realities have been changing over the past few decades. If I start in my own memory, it was around 1987 when we drew from the work of two authorities on leadership. One was Warren Bennis, and the second one was Bert Nanus. And they have done pioneering work on leadership, written extensively. I think 1987, they used the word or the term VUCA, V-U-C-A, for the first time. And I'm sure each one of you knows about it. It's the most often used term these days in management and, of course, every walk of life. It's an acronym for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. December 26th, 1991, almost exactly 29 years ago, there was a declaration by Supreme Soviet. It's called 142H declaration, which almost led to disintegration of the erstwhile USSR. And they had introduced perestroika and glasnost. Perestroika means economic reforms in Russian language, and openness, transparency means glasnost. And we had this CIS countries being formed. And that led to increased volatility and uncertainty in the world, because this was the end of the Cold War era, which had been going on since the beginning of 1950s and 60s. In 1992, American Army College used this word, VUCA. And it declared that militarily, economically, culturally, and civilizationally, the world had changed and changed forever. The equations had changed. 1995, a very interesting book was published by Matthew Kiernan, titled as Get Innovative or Get Dead. I think the first time he emphasized the role of innovation in times to come. And he said that tomorrow's wars will not be fought with yesterday's strategies and day for yesterday's weaponry. We need to innovate. 1996, Samuel Huntington, the famous professor of political science at Harvard, came up with a very powerful book titled as Clash of Civilizations and the Remaking of New World Order. And there he introduced us to the evolving world, where he started from two civilizational world in the beginning of 20th century, where we had West and the rest, to three civilizational world, where we had America, we had USSR, and the non-aligned bloc, which India was a part of it, which came to an end when the Cold War ended, because there was no need for non-aligned world, because the world was aligned. The two blocks were over, and the Cold War ended. And the question we ask today is that, are we entering new era of Cold War? Maybe this time, instead of USSR, it may be China or some other bloc. Now, this is, if you look at during 1990s, enter the decade of 2000, 9/11 happened, as you all know, and the most modern machine, Boeing aircraft, were used as bombs for the demolition of World Trade Center in US, and other buildings were bombed and demolished. It was on 11 September 2001. In between, we had a lot of financial scams and stock market scams, famous ones being Harshad Mehta and Ketan Parikh. And then 2001, there was a spate of financial scams started the world over. We had Enron, we had WorldCom, we had Tyco, we had Parmalat of Italy, and their own homemade Satyam in 2008-9. And there was a spate. And this was perhaps magnified by the opening up of the market, the wave which started in 1990s. Everywhere we shifted from control to market economy the world over. And the market observants put the businesses to a greater scrutiny, and all these scams were brought to light. In the subsequent year, 2002, the US passed a very a strong act called SOA, Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which for the first time said that the punishment for creating financial scams is more than what is awarded for a murder. So from 14 years, they took the imprisonment to 20 years. And there was a joke in the US that if you want to go for lesser number of years to jail, instead of committing financial scams, you must murder the CFO who commits this. So these kind of things continued. And then in the subsequent years, we saw the development of open trade across the world. We were also challenged by the technological advancements and a new phenomena, a new form of terrorism all over the world. Regional conflicts increased, no major wars, but 1971 onwards, this earth has not been free from the regional conflicts even for a day. 2008-9, we saw the great economic recession, which had its lingering effect even till recently. The question is, all the changes we witnessed over 20, 30 years, did we change? And the answer is a big no. The other perspective I look at in the changing world, or the new reality, which has been the title of this conference, is if you trace the industrial revolutions. And we are already witnessing dominantly fourth industrial revolution, but also the fifth industrial revolution has set in, and they both coexist. For the benefit of students and those who are from other fields, first industrial revolution was characterized by post and telegraph as the means of communication, and steam as the source of energy. Some of you would remember those steam railway engines, which used to emit smoke and a different kind of whistling sound it used to make. The second industrial revolution was characterized by the fossil fuels as the source of energy, the petroleum products, and telephone as the means of communication. And telephone had its own range, from those point-to-point telephones to the most advanced smartphones of today with wireless technology. The third industrial revolution, the means of communication was internet and the source of energy was green energy. Fourth industrial revolution did not or was not characterized or is not characterized along these two parameters. It rather represented a convergence of physical, digital, and biological worlds. So it was across, and therefore things became very, very complicated. It was not vertical division, it was horizontal. And we have surrendered so much technology that the fifth industrial revolution says that as we move forward, we should have ethics and emotions to overpower this because we can't surrender to technological advancements. And the experts say that sixth and seventh industrial revolutions would be able to predict how you will behave and how your emotions will be shown to the world. There'll be technological solutions to this. This is the second perspective of this. If you look at next 10 years, these are the technologies, according to me, which should be dominating our industry and the thought process, in which we have hyperloop type of transport, flying taxis, we have AI and robots as companions of elderly couples. They will be part of the project team sitting across the table and discussing with us. The smartphones may well go back to dumb phones as we used to have maybe 15, 20 years ago, and rest of the functions being performed on the cloud instead of the phone itself. Instead of World Wide Web, we have interplanet connectivity. Drones will be delivering the services and goods more often than not. Tourism will change in shape. We have mission to Mars already declared. Hospitals will be almost at home. We will be traveling to hospital lesser and lesser because remote medicine will be predominantly there. 3D printing will start printing not only the small items and the body limbs, it will also start printing cities and coral reefs at the bottom of the seas. Joy of shopping will increase. We have seen it increasing in the last few years, but it will be even more interesting as we move into the future. And alongside this, education is also going to be a different kind of activity, a creative learning process. But the question is, can we continue to ignore this? And the answer is we cannot. But we ignored. We closed our eyes. Students, parents, and teachers all together, we ignored these profound changes. And we said, nothing will happen. We will continue as we are continuing. I think that's where the next thing happened was early this year, COVID-19 stuck. And we were as if waiting for COVID to strike, to change, because we don't change before this. And the Indian version of this global reality came in the form of the new national education policy in 29 July 2020. And this has completely changed the direction in which education will move. So in summary, if I trace the changes in terms of historical events of last 20, 25 years, and the industrial revolutions from first, which started in 18th century, to today, and each industrial revolution has been happening after shorter and shorter time. The first one was more than a century, then about 45, 50 years, then 30 years, 20 years, and 10 years. So the speed of change and the complexity has been increasing every passing day. But in next 5 to 6 years, which is most relevant to us, when the education is going to be redefined, according to me, while all the changes have been pushing us, but three things will play. One, the national education policy will show us the direction, how do we move for next 5 to 6 years. The COVID-19 and its impact will be pushing us. I don't know for how many years, but definitely for next 4 to 5 years. I'm sure you're hearing a next variant of COVID-19 is already being talked about in UK, and every country is getting alerted by this. Right when we found a vaccine for the COVID-19 first version. And the technological advancements which you have seen, which I talked about tracing these industrial revolutions, will be playing an enabler's role. So I would say engine will be the national education policy. From the backside, the COVID will keep on pushing us. And in between, I think the industrial revolution 3, 4, and 5, which are coexisting, will take us into the future. And this will define the scenario of education, according to me. Alongside this, starting from maybe 15, 20 years ago, we have had many missions, national missions, Skill India, Make in India, Gramin Yojana, Pradhan Mantri Sadak Yojana, just to generate a lot of employment. But I think the most profound mission, which is post-COVID, is Atmanirbhar Bharat. And can you imagine how this will be different from the isolated world which we lived in before 1991-92 when we opened up as a country? When economic reforms started not only in India, but I think all over the world during the decade of 1990s. And it was consequent to those reforms, we traced how many scams happened because we were put to greater market scrutiny and we were exposed. But I think Atmanirbhar Bharat is distinct in the sense that it does not discourage globalization. It rather encourages. But as a country, we have to be self-reliant if something of this kind strikes again, the pandemic which we are going through. And this presents singularly the most powerful opportunity before all of us as teachers and students to change and look forward to moving into the future of new reality. And addressing the moot question which was posed to me in the topic given, that how education will change. And quickly, I'll make some points before I conclude. I have last 5 minutes left. The first change I see in education is that we'll have to prepare, I think which Dr. Dinesh pointed out, that will be paid hourly instead of monthly or yearly. He was right in the sense that freelancing kind of jobs will increase and regular employment as we know them today will decrease increasingly. And therefore, to survive in that economy, which is called gig economy, which is part-time jobs, freelancing jobs, assignment-based, project-based kind of jobs, we have to be among the best. Otherwise, nobody will talk to us. It's not that I have gotten a job and then I'll get salary, no matter I perform good or bad. So we need to prepare for the gig economy, which is change number one. And having done that, continuously remain relevant. We'll have to upgrade ourselves. I'm sure many of you are aware, as a company, Google has announced it, Tesla has announced it, and many more technology-oriented companies are in the race. They say we do not need degrees. If you have done your schooling, it's good enough for us. Google has developed an application where they'll give you a career trajectory over the next 10 years, and at what stage of this trajectory you will need what skills, and they themselves will provide you that in the form of certifications, in the form of training programs. So you can choose whether you want to be on a steep trajectory or a flatter kind of trajectory, and this will give you clear-cut path for the next 10 years. The global benchmarks, which we have been talking about, of course, we'll have to follow and follow more vigorously. But I think another important thing to keep in mind in view of local missions of self-reliance, that we as institutions will have to remain locally relevant. We'll have to first solve the problems of a local community and the society, and then move outwards, take them globally. And that's what precisely the new mission says. As universities and as students and teachers, we need to understand one thing clearly, that the blended learning is going to stay and stay forever. Whatever we started in March is not going to go away at all. Rather, the COVID magnified, it exposed us about our weaknesses, that how badly we're delivering education, how badly we as students were receiving education, and we had almost forgotten the role each party has to play in the process of learning. We need to be reminded of that. And I think COVID has reminded us, it has broken all those interests and notions which we had deep-rooted in us. It shook us and said, come on guys, wake up. The world had changed and changed forever. You never noticed us, but then I'll make you notice this. So the blended learning will stay, and universities will work towards differentiation. Now, one of the challenges before teachers and students and universities would be that in online mode, which is now, of course, almost 100% and gradually will reduce over the next few months as we see it, the contents are standardized, developed by few content developers. University challenge will be to differentiate how we give more value to our students, how we increase the value proposition for every stakeholder. I think this, according to me, will be the biggest challenge for teachers. Industry certifications and micro credentials will have to be integrated into the programs, like School of Commerce has done. It was mentioned in the opening address by the brilliant girl who was at the ceremony, and said how we have ACCA, CIMA, and other kind of qualifications embedded in our programs, which I think takes us into the future. We are already prepared for that. And this will make us stand in good stead vis-a-vis contemporaries and other institutions. And by these changes, I mean that the universities of the past, as we have known them, will they continue or will they be different? My view is that they will be substantially different and not marginally different. We should start preparing for that. As universities, as we have known them, will not be seen in times to come. Other change which is applicable to students, teachers, and everybody is that we cannot afford to remain in isolation in our classroom, in the confines and the comfort of classrooms or our home even. We need to collaborate. We need to learn how to learn together. And this collaboration will be across disciplines, across cultures, industries, nations, countries, societies. And jointly, we will have to start working towards finding solutions to real life problems, which means we will have to deliberately, intentionally, institutionally expand the learning opportunities for our students. How do we create those combinations that we learn more, we have more opportunities? Industry and academia will have to cohabit, co-create and co-own the programs and any new concept we develop. And for co-creation, need to cohabit first. We find scenarios like companies, office, and institutions, and vice versa, being more frequent. The research, as we have known them in traditional sense, will have to be linked to innovation and entrepreneurship. Only the academic research will become absolutely meaningless. There won't be any takers for this. So all those who are involved in research and all those who will involve as a part of the system need to be mindful of the fact that academic research will have little place and will have to take it further in terms of scope and create something innovative for the benefit of the society. And finally, the change, according to me, will be in the behavioral patterns of teachers and students. Teachers will have to be ready for declaring themselves redundant. They will be competing with themselves. Once I deliver a lecture online, it's recorded. I'm not required after this. I become redundant. Next time I have to bring something new. So this, I think, comfort with the self-redundancy, being mindful of this and being ready for continuous self-renewal will be the challenge with the teachers. And on the other hand, students who are not being monitored as they're monitored in the class will have to bring discipline or give discipline a new dimension. They have to take the responsibility of learning onto themselves, because teacher will not be spoon feeding. In any case, in higher education, not supposed to be spoon fed, but somehow our system has been spoon feeding them. Parents' expectation that we spoon feed them. All that had changed. If you're hiding yourself behind the screen and not attending the classes, it's your problem. It's not the student's problem in any case or university's problem. And learning is something your responsibility. And when I say this, both teacher and students will have to become comfortable with human-machine interface. Get used to working with machines and robots, which you have not been comfortable with. You will find lesser and lesser human beings at times in certain work environments. And sooner we develop comfort with this, better it will be for us. And I said, let me end on this note of taking the responsibility onto yourself. I'm reminded of those beautiful lines by one of the greatest philosophers, writers, and authors, Khalil Gibran, which has given me the best definition of student-teacher relationship. And he said, if he is indeed wise, he will not let you enter the house of his wisdom. He is referring to the teacher. If he is indeed wise, he will not let you enter the house of his wisdom. He would rather lead you to the threshold of your own mind. An astronomer can speak to you about his understanding of space, but he cannot give you the understanding of space. And a musician can sing to the rhythm that's available in all space, but he cannot give you the ears that arrest the rhythm, nor the voice that echoes it. I think this is the relationship which teacher and students will have to develop and take care of their comfortable environment, their familiar environment in terms of the workplace, the people you see every day, and the kind of instruments, the kind of gadgets used every day. This is going to be redefined in times to come. Once again, thank you so much for inviting me, Nilima ma'am, Dr. Dinesh. Heartiest congratulations for the conference, and I wish the conference a great success. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for giving us an inspiring start and for walking us through the changing times in education. Audience, please note, if there are any questions, please post your queries on the chat box. I repeat, if there are any questions to Dr. Raj Singh, please post your queries on the chat box. Thank you.
I don't
The
see
next.
any. Okay. Even after you start the next section, and if your question keep posting, I'm there for some time online. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much. The next keynote address for this conference is on changing dynamics of business in new global realities. Requesting Professor Yashaswini to introduce our speaker, Mr. Samartha Raghava Nagabhushanam, co-founder and co-CEO, Kubera International Incorporated.
Thank you, Vandana, once again. It is an honor to introduce the second keynote speaker of the day, Mr. Samartha Raghava Nagabhushanam, co-founder and co-CEO, Kubera International Incorporated. Sir has bachelor's degree in engineering, electronics and communications with distinction from the University of Mysore. Sir has attended 2 global advanced management programs at Northwestern University Kellogg School of Management and Indian School of Business. Sir began his career as an engineer at Datalogic SPA. Later on, he has worked in several other companies and moved on to become a founder and co-founder of several companies. Sir has been a managing director and president, Kyocera Wireless India, Kyocera International Communications Equipment Group. Sir founded Kyocera Wireless India as fully owned subsidiary of Kyocera Group. He built the company from zero to 1,000 engineers. This was directly responsible for India market phone sales, which clocked nearly $300 million revenues for 3 years. Japan, USA, and India were the 3 houses for communication equipment group with an operating revenue of $2 to $3 billion, and he has led all the Indian activities, which included research and development, product engineering, and manufacturing of phones and base stations. Sir has been the president and CEO of Mindtree, Bengaluru, India, and was responsible in building a top-of-the-line smartphones and LTE base stations. Sir is a group CEO, COO, and India CEO of 5 Bars International Incorporated, located at San Diego, California, United States, for almost 5 years until January 2020. He has been the chairman and co-founder of Ivory Sense from February 2011 till date, located at Bengaluru, India. A co-founder and co-CEO at Kubera International Incorporated from Jan 2020 till date, located at Reno, Nevada, United States, which is a data value share company in the making, leveraging blockchain technologies to increase privacy and the value of home Wi-Fi users. Sir enjoys building challenging products and profitably deploying across geographies. In a span of 3 decades, he has built several products that have reached hundreds of millions of people across the globe. He has led engineering of telecom switches, wireline, and wireless protocol stacks over 250 models of phones, predominantly Kyocera and Sanyo, sold in over 10 countries, over 10 base stations of various 3G and 4G technologies deployed across over 20 countries, field analytics products for largest retails in India, network extenders, smart Wi-Fi routers, and IoT devices and hubs deployed in various parts of the globe. Sir has steered company higher company value with his technology and business acumen, both as a CEO and as a president in 4 public companies. As founder and co founder of 3 companies, he has delivered rapid growth and profitable exits for those companies. He has managed teams over 1,500 engineers, executive of 2 to 300 billion US dollars, and has inspired IP innovations leading to over 100 patents from his teams. With close to 3 decades leading global telecom and data analytics companies, his vision is to blend the innovations in these industries to provide higher values to the consumers. With this note, I would request Sir to deliver the second keynote address for this conference. Sir, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Yashaswini, for a very long introduction. Okay, and Dr. Singh, it was brilliant actually. What you covered, it was wide canvas and it was very brilliant. Okay, thank you for setting the stage so beautifully, and I hope I do the justice for whatever you spoke as a second keynote. So we are talking of changing dynamics of business in new global realities. Okay, so we need to understand what is new global realities, and we also need to understand what is business and how the business is going forward. So just before getting there, I want to say that if clouds are formed, it has to rain and clear the skies, and everything that shrinks has to expand. So that we have seen, everything that shrinks has to expand, and every darkness is followed by light. Okay, that we have always seen. So global economy is shrinking, and it is shrinking wide rapidly. Okay, no doubts on that. We have all seen that finally. Indian economy is also shrinking rapidly, very rapidly. And right now, there is no speculation whether it is shrinking, whether there is a depression, whether there is a recession. No, nothing. It is a big depression that we are entering. So that is for sure. If you look at the total global economic shrinkage for this year alone is 5%. All the advanced economies have shrunk by about 8%. The growth economies are typically doing okay with the shrinkage of about 3%, but India, though it's a growth economy, it is shrinking at 8 to 10% kind of a stuff for various reasons that we have, the country is facing with. Okay, so overall, there is a depression, there is a recession, there is a shrinkage of economy and all that kind of stuff. And it is going to continue for some more time. The shrinkage is going to continue maybe 1 more quarter, 2 more quarters and all that kind of stuff. So though IMF is predicting something, though World Bank is predicting something, okay, we are damn sure that the shrinkage will continue for some more time. Seeing where vaccination is going, where COVID-19 is going, what kind of waves that is happening, and the recent announcements of few lockdowns for states in multiple states in US and many other countries in advanced economies, and we are seeing all those things. The recovery is whether it is a V or U or W, okay, we don't know. So we don't know whether it has a fast recovery, whether it has a slow recovery, whether it has a recovery in a sawtooth wave kind of a stuff. So we don't know how the recovery is going to happen, but it will recover. Okay, and once it recovers, the good thing about when economy shrinks and big depressions happen and all that kind of a stuff, after that the race is going to be perpetual. Okay, for a decade, for few decades it will be perpetual. So that is the kind of growth that we will be seeing of this particular economy. Okay, the global economy, Indian economy, everything will start growing, and there will be a perpetual growth for some time, for sure. Okay, and people who are entering the businesses at this point in time, so all the students who are entering the businesses at this point in time are very lucky, because you will be seeing Okay, before you entered, it shrank, and once you enter, it is growing, kind of a stuff. So you will be very you will see a very optimistic curve in terms of the business growth. To understand where the businesses are growing, okay, and what businesses are happening. So first we need to try to understand where the monies are going. Okay, so the first thing to understand is where the monies are getting invested now. So there are only two types of investments that is happening. One is public markets. So people are investing in public markets on a sustained basis, and they are trying to of course, there is some amount of savings, and saving oriented culture is there around the globe, but most monies which are getting invested are in the public markets. So why public markets? People are looking at liquidity of cash. So people are not doing heavy investments into private placements, or people are not doing heavy investments into other areas, but they are investing in public markets so that the cash liquidity is maintained. So that is the most key point, that you need to understand where the monies are going. The second biggest thing, where the real big, large chunks of investments, these are public markets, or players like small players, individuals, small institutions, and mutual funds, and all other players are playing in the public market so that they can keep the liquidity. At any point in time, the liquidity is critical. So that kind of a symptom, or that kind of a behavior is shown by all the investors, in the sense that typically people would like to invest in a 7-year to 9-year kind of horizon. That is how the investment psyche goes in. But nowadays, most of the investment psyche of even the private investors and small time financial institutions are going towards a public market, so that the liquidity of cash is retained. So that we need to understand. The second thing that we need to understand is the large chunks of money. Where is the large chunks of money which is going? So the large chunks of money, of course, there are three industrial revolutions that Dr. Singh talked about. But we need to understand what is the underlying common denominator for all the investments, large investments that is happening. So the underlying theme, okay, maybe I'll take a little back, about 5 to 6 years back, all the large investments were looking at something called as impact investments. Okay, the streets, all the financial institutions were talking about impact investments. Impact investments in the sense that whenever I put my money, okay, is the money going for some larger social impact, some sustainability, something of that sort, okay, which could be a green revolution, which could be a sustainable economy, which has some kind of a social impact, either laying power grids, or laying roads, or giving health to so many people, or giving food to so many people. So is there a social impact? Okay, and that is the kind of things. So impact investment had become a fancy word for the past maybe about a decade. Okay, at least for 6 years in the investment market, it has become a fancy word. But now 2020, impact investment has become a must, in the sense that all the big investments are going only towards large social impacts, which is more sustainable, which is going into long term, that kind of a stuff. Okay, so that is where the large monies are going. When I say impact investments, it could be agriculture, which gives food for, okay, and it could be health, it could be any kind of, so there is a very limited amount of money which is going only on lifestyle products. Okay, so there is a large chunks of money which is going on the basic products in the Maslow's hierarchy. If you look at it, so the bottom two pieces, okay, are where the monies are going. So if you peel the Maslow's hierarchy, then you can see that bottom two elements of the pyramid are the ones which is grabbing more attention. Typically, in every shrinkage of economy, the bottom two pieces will take care of most of it. And then slowly, when the economy builds up, people move towards lifestyle, luxury, and all that kind of stuff. So that is where the investments, large investments, even the impact investments are happening. Okay. So coming to the current here and now kind of realities. What is the here and now realities? COVID happened, a lot of layoffs happened, a lot of businesses shut down. In US alone, I think it was 500,000 or 50,000, 500,000 probably businesses shut down in the COVID, and they declared Chapter 7, Chapter 11 kind of a stuff. In India, a lot of small shops have closed. A lot of recession effects are seen all across the world. Okay, and this kind of, and a lot of layoffs. Okay, a lot of people have lost jobs. But for once the shrinkage happens, now everybody is fine tuning themselves and adjusting to the market realities. How much money each business is looking at, how much monies can I get from this particular market, how much cash flows I can manage, and how much of input that, how much of people I can sustain kind of a stuff, and how much expenditures that I need to incur. But at the same time, now slowly they are looking at, okay, the market is recovering a bit. Okay, bit by bit, the market is opening. So to that extent, let us start replenishing. Okay, so now the shrinkage has happened. People have laid off a lot of people. Now there is a replenishing kind of a stuff. Probably another 2 years, you can see this replenishing happen. Okay, so replenishing in the sense that everything is dried of the business. Now there are some energies, replenishing energies that has been put into the business kind of stuff. So that is what is happening in all the businesses. Okay, be it tech, be it service industries, be it regular manufacturing industries, be it any kind of industry. So that is what is happening, where the layoffs were done and now the shrinkage had happened, and now they're looking at replenishing the market kind of stuff. So in another 2-3 years, probably you will see that replenishing. And post that, there will be a growth. Okay, so that is what I'm seeing that, okay, because the markets will open up and the economies will start growing. Okay, whether it is a V curve or a U curve or a W curve or whatever, the sawtooth curve or whatever the curve. So you can see that markets open up and grow kind of a stuff in 2-3 years. So that is where the growth will happen. But the way the growth will happen is, okay, if you look at whether essentials, okay, there are 3 segments of consumption. One is the essential consumption, the other is lifestyle consumption, the third is the luxury consumption. So all the three buckets of consumption is happening right now. Okay, everywhere all the consumptions are happening, but the consumption ticket sizes have gone low. So that is what is happening. The ticket size, whether it is in essentials, the ticket size has gone low. Whether in lifestyle, the ticket size has gone low, and definitely in luxury, the ticket sizes have gone low. So, but again, from the low ticket size, it will go to medium ticket size and high ticket size in a very rapid fashion. So that we have always seen that in the growth economies, that I mean, when the economy is growing, global economy is growing, then suddenly the ticket sizes will move up and up and up from a low ticket size to high ticket size kind of stuff. So that is one thing that we need to see. And so have this particular thing in the mind. So essentials, lifestyle, and luxury as 3 buckets of consumption. Have this in mind where the investments are going, that is impact investments and public markets. So if you look at both these things and further blend it with what industries, what sectors are growing and what sectors will have impact. So largely the GDP, any country is bucketed on 3 large industries. One is agri industry, the other is service industry, the third is industry, the regular industry, which is a manufacturing industry kind of stuff. Okay, the goods, services, and agri are the 3 compositions that is happening. But things like seen with food, FMCG, with a lot of low ticket size things. Okay, you can see that the growth is already happening. Auto, housing, probably in the lifestyle segment, will with large ticket sizes. Again, we are seeing that is potentially another 1 to 2 years to set back to the normal. And the deepest hit right now of the 3 agri, services, and the regular industry is the service industry. So the service industry, like hospitality and any kind of a service industry that we are looking at, has kind of a shrunk behavior for some more time. Tourism has a shrunk behavior for some more time. All the travels have become shrunk for some more time. Okay, so that will continue. But largely, if you are looking at what industries to go forward, you look at Maslow's hierarchy, and the bottom two pyramids, you look at what industry that I can go into at this point in time. And then you further look at whether it is a large ticket, medium ticket, or high ticket kind of a stuff, or which bucket it is fitting, whether it is essentials, lifestyle, or luxury. And that is where you put your energies. So if there is something where individuals need to put their energies, so this is broadly the way that the economies and the businesses will change. The next thing, okay, I personally feel that students and education are generally very lucky at this point in time, because you're seeing shrinkage, and then you will be seeing an expansion, and that expansion is going to carry for another 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So that, and it will be a moderated expansion kind of a stuff. It will not be like, okay, we are hitting apocalypse, so everybody wants to just rejoice life or enjoy life kind of a stuff. That is not human behavior. Though there will be a, okay, after every economy recovery, there is just one blip and then a slow growth kind of a stuff. So that is what happens for a big depression or big recessions or global impact kind of a economy changes. So that is what we will be seeing. But the biggest promise that you have from the future is that it is going to be a perpetual growth market kind of a stuff. So when you, the whole thing, okay, I think Dr. Dinesh talked about the impatient generation, the I generation kind of a stuff, okay. But to sustain in this particular business, in this particular economy, the biggest thing that you require is attitude, okay. So patience is definitely one of the key things. Hard work is another key thing that is there, and diligence, okay. Whatever you do it impeccably kind of thing. Patience is something which is right now, if you enter the market and if you are seeing that nothing is happening, but you still have to keep on working, it's a huge challenge, because there is no stimulus for you to do a hard work. But without any stimulus, can you do a hard work? That is the whole impact. So if we have an exam, we study. There is a stimulus of exam, you study, you ram it, you crack it, and you then crack it. Okay. So there is no stimulus, there is no exam which is happening, or there is no impact which is coming in, but you still need to do a hard work, a sustained hard work kind of a stuff. So that is the huge change. Okay. Whenever big depressions happen, that is the societal change that will be driven, that hard work is so essential that you need to keep chopping, cutting, and you need to keep going in that particular direction. So that is one thing in terms of attitude which will be seen. Just smartness and intelligence will not take you to brighter places. That will be after maybe 5 or 6 years. Heavy, smart, and intelligent people will have a rapid growth, because they would recover typically in any economy recoveries. That is what, okay, largely with all the observations that has happened over multiple big depressions, that is the thing that is there. And only tenacious people, okay, if you have a tenacious attitude, okay, if you are sitting on the horse and not letting it go and keep on riding, so that is the only set of attitude which takes you there. Okay, so that is the overall summary that I have I'd like to share with all of you. So again, look at industries. If you look at what businesses that you want to go in, look at Maslow's hierarchy, look at the basics, okay, the essentials, and look at the essentials, whether you, even if you are going into lifestyle or a luxury kind of segments, look at the areas where the ticket sizes are a little lower and the market is moving kind of a stuff. And you, right now you are entering only a replenishing market. So you need to look at how you fit. Only hard work is the only thing that will go into the replenishing market, and only after that, once you hit the growth curve, is when you see the growth of yourself and this one. But the good thing is the shrinkage will give you an opportunity to grow, and there will be a 5 to 10 year kind of a growth, perpetual growth. If luckily nothing else hits the world, okay, that is, I think nothing else will be hitting the world because people are taking a lot of cautious measures. Whether it is individual health, there is a cautious measure. Where even in the political stands, there is a cautious measure. There is a lot more a spread and a broader moderation of things that is happening. So everywhere there is a moderation. The political system is moderating a little. The health system, the food system, the family as an institution is moderating. Everybody is moderating kind of a stuff. This moderating societal behavior will continue, because of which we will not enter into something much more dangerous than what we have entered. So that is the overall view that I have, and that is what I wanted to share. Hope, yeah, I'm on 10:45. Over to the MC is if there are any questions.
Audience, if there are any queries that need to be posted to Mr. Samartha Nagabhushanam, please do post it on the chat box. There are no queries right now, sir. If in case there's anything that comes up, I will let you know.
Yeah, and thanks for providing the opportunity. Hopefully this was useful for all of you, and good luck with your conference, and have fun. Thank you.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for giving us an industrial perspective to the emerging changes in the Indian economy, in the new global realities. Audience, please note, we now come to the end of the inaugural session. Thanking all the dignitaries once again for taking out time from their busy schedule and being with us here this morning. We will now break for 10 minutes and come back for a panel discussion. Audience, please note, use the same Zoom link for the panel discussion. Also, please note that you will have to fill the feedback form that has been posted on the chat box. Do not fail to fill the feedback form. Thank you so much. We will meet you all after the short break. Please use the same Zoom link. Also, please note, it would be better if all participants log in 5 minutes early.
Okay, but I can't hear.
Audience, please note, we will begin very shortly.
Morning, this is Rakesh Kudwani here.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Good
Welcome
morning.
to the panel discussion.
We'll begin shortly.
Welcome back, audience, after a short break. Please note, during the panel discussion, if there are any queries, you could either raise your hand or post them on the chat box. We will now begin the panel discussion on dynamics of the changing landscape in higher education. But before we begin, let me introduce you all to the moderator for the session, Dr. Rajdeep K. Manwani. Dr. Rajdeep K. Manwani is an academician, trainer, motivational speaker, life coach, counselor, social change agent, and a quiz master par excellence, both by training and by choice. He is working as a professor and coordinator in the Department of Commerce at Jain deemed to be university and is a triple postgraduate and a PhD, having completed his MCom, MBA, and MPhil, and also a doctorate in commerce on the topic Strategic Evaluation of Training in Commercial Banks. He secured the gold medal for topping both the MCom and MPhil examination in Mysore University. He is the recipient of the National Award as Role Model for Empowerment of Persons with Disability. He received this honor National Award from the Honorable President of India in December 2013. He is also the recipient of the special award given by the Chief Minister of Karnataka in 2011 and the State Award for Excellence given by the Government of Karnataka in 2015. An eloquent speaker, he has won several debates and was adjudged the best speaker in the International Tape Speech Competition held by the Toastmasters International in 2008. He holds the record of being adjudged the best impromptu speaker for 5 years in India and Sri Lanka for the years 2008, 2009, 2010, 2012, and 2015. He has been awarded the Distinguished Toastmaster, the highest award in Toastmasters International. He also received the Rotary Award for Vocational Service in Education, the Extraordinary Pathfinder Award by Rotary International, the Positive Health Hero Award given by Dr. Batra's Clinic and Bajaj Auto, and the GCS Foundation of Transformational Leadership Innovative Teaching Award in May 2018, and the Guru Shrestha Award in 2019. He has been a featured TEDx speaker and has hosted several training programs, given motivational speeches, and held management talk shows on radio. He is a regular speaker to the senior management and leadership of several companies like Bosch, Wipro, HP, and Intel, and is a part of the elite panel of speakers for several leadership and management forums. He is keenly involved as a facilitator of several disability organizations at Bangalore and has helped in training, mentoring, and placing several students with disability in organizations and careers of their choice. He has paved the way for accessibility in several corporate campuses and has also worked extensively with social organizations like Snehadeep, CAPS Foundation, Enable India, and Mitra Jyoti by creating a barrier free physical, emotional, and social environment for persons with disability to thrive and express their potential. He believes in engaging, energizing, and empowering individuals who are facing any form of description and helps them face the world with confidence and courage. He has also done workshops on humor, public speaking, inspiration, and inclusion in several colleges and companies. Let us all welcome Dr. Rajdeep K. Manwani, moderator for the panel discussion. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much, Vandana, for that wonderful introduction. That's the benefit of actually writing your own introduction. You know, you can write whatever you want and it will get passed. So thank you so very much. And in fact, once my mentor had told me, never deny anything which is told about you in an introduction, because anyway, the people will find out in 15-20 minutes what you actually are. So thank you so much, Vandana, for that wonderful introduction. And let me start this panel discussion with a small incident which happened in my life a few years back. I was invited to speak at a B school, and uh, as I was walking into the orientation program of that B school, one of the founders of that particular institution, Mr. Mathur Krishnamurthy, who was a very legendary personality, told me, Rajdeep, remember 100 hours. And I was a little confused. I said, no, sir, you're mistaken. I'm not a full-time faculty here. I'm just going to speak for 1 hour over here with your students. He said, I know, but there are 100 students in that class and 1 hour. If that 1 hour doesn't go well, you're not wasting 1 hour, you're wasting 100 hours and 100 labor hours. And that stuck to me for a very long time. The reason I told you this incident is that as per the All India Survey of Higher Education, which I was going through the document yesterday, the 2020 figures show that there are around 3.7 crore students enrolled in higher education. If you multiply that by approximately 4 hours a day, if that education is not taken care of properly, we are wasting approximately 15 crore man hours every day. 51,000 higher education institutions, 993 universities which give degrees in our country. Out of them, 39,990 colleges. Are these colleges, universities, and institutions of higher education giving that just due to the students? Today, we are going to find out that in this panel discussion, which is the dynamics of the changing landscape in higher education. And to lead us through this panel discussion, we have 4 luminaries. Yesterday, there was a celestial spectacle. Jupiter and Saturn came together and there was a huge bright spark in the sky. Today, you don't have 2 planets, you have 4 stars who are going to actually lead you through this entire panel discussion. So I'm going to just introduce them with one line each, and then I'll make the presentation start. To start off, we have a very good friend of mine and an amazing person. He is an adjunct faculty at IIM Bangalore and Udaipur. He is the founder of School of Meaningful Experiences, an ed platform which gives career choices and which gives training to students and individuals of all ages. He's written 4 books. The first book, Plunge, and the last was the Kaleidoscope of Public Speaking. And also he has a podcast An amazing person. He serves at the board of Vishwas, a counseling center for people who are facing some sort of trauma and depression. He has worked in several organizations at very high positions in Wipro, in Qualcomm and Intel, but gave that all up to follow his passion. And he's one of the most respected speakers across corporates, educational institutions. And if you haven't seen his video, the 6 C's of your character building, you must see it. It's garnered nearly 1 million views on YouTube. So please welcome with a big round of applause, Rakesh Godwani. Rakesh, tell hi and I'll know you're there. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Rajdeep.
Thanks.
I will bask in the glory and follow your dictum that do not deny any of these things and enjoy it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rakesh. Thank you very, very much. Second on our panel, we have all the way from Croatia. Now, you must realize that although it's around 11 over here, in Croatia, it's 6:30 in the morning. And this lady has taken the pains to get up at 6:30 in the morning just to be with all of y'all. She is a doctorate in sociology from the University of Zagreb in Croatia. She's working as a professor in the Polytechnic of Požega in Croatia. She's won the International Project Award for her Polytechnic and her different contributions in sociology and to the student community by the government of Croatia. She has not only done her PhD, she's also done her postdoctoral research in countries like Spain and in Italy. She, in fact, has the Erasmus scholarships and she's traveled extensively to different countries like Greece. She was supposed to travel to India, Bhutan, but because of the coronavirus, she couldn't come. But she's traveled to Greece, Austria, and several other universities in Spain and is a very, very respected figure in the field of education. Please welcome with a big round of applause, Miss Barbara Piska, all the way from Croatia. Thank you, madam, for joining us.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm glad to be here with you, and I hope we're going to have a wonderful panel. And I also hope that I'm going to learn a lot from you. So thank you once again for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much, madam, for joining us all the way from Croatia. Okay. Third on the panel, we have a visionary, a founder, as well as an instructor. He is one of the pioneers in the field of education when it relates to CPA and CMA, Certified Public Accountancy and Certified Managed Accounting from the USA. He has founded Miles Education, which is now spread over 8 cities across India. He's completed his CPA. He's tied up with the IMA to launch this edX platform, educational platform. He is considered the most favorite instructor for CPA and CMA in the country. He's created videos for training. He is an enthusiast. He's worked with Deloitte and JP Morgan. He's also traveled to London, but he gave up all that to start this very, very great startup, which is the Miles Education. An amazing orator, a wonderful visionary. Please welcome with a big round of applause, Varun Jain.
Thank you. Thanks, Rajdeep. Thank you so much. Looking forward. My pleasure to be here today.
Thank you so much, Varun, for joining us. Last but not the least, we have a PhD in risk and finance management from the Cochin University and also alumni of IIT Kharagpur. An individual who's a founder of a global company on cloud computing. He is also working as the Chief Technical Officer for the Pearls Global Solutions in Kochi. He's a consultant. He's on the Board of Studies of Jain University in Kochi. He has been an educator, a founder, a software architect, a solution provider, and I can't go on and on, but his credentials are not to be discounted. He is one of the most pioneering persons in the field of technology, software development, and also in the education field. He's worked extensively in several organizations with an experience of more than 25 years, an educator, a founder, a software architect, a development consultant, and in the heart of hearts, a great human being. Please welcome with a big round of applause, Mr. Anil Kumar.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
for
you,
giving
Anil.
me the opportunity to be here.
Okay. Now, what we're going to do in this panel discussion is there are going to be 4 rounds. So the first round is each of the panelists will give a 10-minute presentation on what they think is the changing landscape of higher education in our country. So we'll start off with you, Rakesh, and then we'll take it from there.
Thank you very much for that, and my sincere apologies. I am in a very bad network area, so I may sometimes get a little bit patchy. So my apologies. And if you do experience bad patchy sound, please just flag it to me. Um, I think in the last 7 or 8 months, we have witnessed one of the most unprecedented changes throughout the world. COVID 19 not only has told us how vulnerable we are and has also given a mirror in our face to show that Mother Nature is all powerful. I think if we zoom it down to education, it has been a very humbling experience to all of us. First of all, we all should realize that education is no longer considered as an extremely important part of life. And COVID 19 proved it. I think health is more important, wellness is more important, safety is more important, nature is more important, getting a job and economy is more important, survival is more important, education is not important. And all schools and colleges are trying their best to stay relevant in the modern times. And this, I think, is a great opportunity for all of us in education to sit back and question ourselves, what are we all doing? Because the 21st century is very, very different than what we all thought we know about life. And education is no longer solving the problems of 21st century. I have been very vocal on this issue for the last few years, but this year I participate in many webinars and forums and including your conference just to start this discussion that all of us as teachers need to reboot ourselves and really need to ask ourselves, are we making our education relevant for 21st century? And I'm going to give 5 important data points for all of us to start thinking about and bring in 1 or 2 of my recommendations in this particular area, which I think we should be doing. The first thing is we are going to be an extremely populated world, about 10 billion people in the next 30 years. It's going to be a very crowded place. It's not going to go down. In this crowded place, most of us will have long lifespans. We may have terrible quality of life. That's a different discussion. But we will live long. In fact, our children will probably touch the dawn of 22nd century without any problems. The third thing is that if we are going to live long, then I think we will work also very long. And this is where education system of the olden days, and I'm using the word olden days with a pinch of salt and sarcasm, I think has to be rethought, because our older education system was designed to prepare a student for 21 years of education, followed by roughly 30 years or 35 years of working in the corporate world or the government world, and then you retire at the age of 60. Today, this person is going to be living to 90 years. So there is no retirement at 60. So the people coming out of the world today are going to work for about 70 years, 65 to 70. The fourth data point is that if you are going to live for, let's say, 100 years and work for about 70 years, there is a high possibility that you will change your careers minimum 5 times. So you could start with commerce, then completely shift to law, then completely shift to entrepreneurship, then completely shift to teaching and education, then completely shift to music and become a rock star. Anything is possible. And the last is that we will not only live on Earth, but we will also live on Moon and Mars. Now, if this is the future of the world, this is what we call 21st century, I think we should really question the textbooks and the education curriculum we are teaching, because it is completely irrelevant to the person who is living this life of the 21st century. And the second thing is, I want us to also focus on who is this 21st century learner, because we all sometimes miss that. And one of the problems of education system is that we all think that we are extremely intelligent people, highly capable, and we know everything about education. So the founders of the institutions are very confident that we know how to run institutes. The teachers are very confident that we know how to run the curriculum, and everything else seems to be fine. The parents are very confident that we know how to raise children. But I beg to disagree with all the three constituencies, because this fourth constituency, which is the learner, is an extremely different person, and the education that we are giving them is not designed for their intelligence. In fact, the education is very, very low as compared to the intelligence they have. And I'll tell you why. I work a lot with teenagers, young adults, working professionals, and all the way to senior corporate executives. And in the about 70 to 80 years ago, we used to design a curriculum in such a way that it would give them a flavor of the world. So the teacher and the guide was the first port of information for the student. Today, their first port of information is their cell phone. They know everything that is out there because of YouTube, Coursera, podcasts, movies, documents. There are platforms where they can download books. And now this student comes to a classroom and we give him some curriculum which was designed in 1940s and 60s. And this person sees a strange mismatch. So I feel that the learner of the 21st century is an extremely intelligent human being, extremely misguided. That part, I think I agree with all of you, that they are misguided people because they don't know what's going on. But I think they are extremely intelligent. They know more than the teachers many times. And education is not supposed to now take them into a classroom, make them sit down and make them memorize books. I think it's about bringing their intelligence into the whole system. So here is a summary of my conversation, and I will let my other colleagues speak and share their views. The first suggestion and request I have for all of us is to stop thinking that we know the 21st century learner. I think we don't. We have no clue what they want. And this is where we need to ask them, what do they want to learn, and bring them into the head table of decision making. The days of the university chancellor and the auditors from the government and the high intelligent teachers deciding what has to be taught are gone. I think we need to involve these youngsters and ask them, what excites you? What kind of students and what kind of subjects do you want to learn? And then also bring in an element of relevance of 21st century and ask the requirements of what is there in 21st century, which is where industry has to be made a part and participle of curriculum design. So that is suggestion number one, that please involve the stakeholders of 21st century into the curriculum. The second thing is, I think the curriculum also has to be reduced significantly, because what I see in the 21st century, the learners, they're going through extreme sense of anxiety and fear and emotions, which our generation, you and I and my colleagues here, we did not experience because of various different factors. At that time, we had the capacity of sitting down and reading books because we had really nothing else to do. But today, this generation has plenty of things to do, and they do not have the intelligence. Actually, I'm sorry, they do not have the attention span that we had. So the amount of curriculum we are giving them either is irrelevant or maybe is causing them a lot of distress. So my sincere request is reduce the curriculum significantly, increase interdisciplinary concepts and discussions so that these students are made part of the whole conversation that we are part of, and education becomes a lot more meaningful. At the end of the day, if I have to look at what education really is, I think we are preparing the learners to have a great life in the 21st century. And if we have to do that, their participation in the future education curriculum is extremely important. And our job as teachers is to stop calling ourselves as teachers, but calling ourselves as guides, that we ourselves don't know what's happening. And we probably, with their help, will guide each other so that we can have a better quality of life in the 21st century. So that's my first submission to you, Rajdeep, and my colleagues, and I will now stop and give the control back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rakesh. A teacher is no longer a sage on the stage, he's only a guide by the side. And we generally underestimate the intelligence of students at a particular age. There was this girl who was around 10 years old, and she came to her mother and she said, "Mummy, how was I born?" And this mother was a little perplexed. How is she asking such a question? And not knowing what to do, she said, I was sitting outside in the veranda and there was a big eagle who came and dropped you off on my lap. The girl went off, and then after a few minutes, she came back and she said, "How were you born, Mummy?" And she said, "Same thing. Your grandmother was sitting in the veranda and there was this big eagle who came and he dropped her off on your grandmother's lap." After a few minutes, she came back again and she said, "How was grandmother born?" She said, "Why are you asking these questions? Same thing. Your great grandmother was sitting in the veranda and there was this big eagle who came and she dropped you off." Then this girl didn't come back. After a few minutes, the mother was very inquisitive. She went to the room and she found that this girl was given an assignment on the family tree. And she was writing in that, "Very surprising, there has been no normal birth in my family for the last 3 generations." So we generally underestimate the children, but they know everything, and that's what Rakesh was trying to say. So let's move from the sage on the stage to the guide by the side. So we have next, all the way from Croatia, Mrs. Barbara Piska. Dr. Barbara Piska, could you give your submissions, ma'am, please?
Yes, thank you very much. This was a very inspiring speech that we heard from your colleague Rakesh. So I thank him very much, and I also agree on the number of topics he noticed in his elaboration. I have actually prepared a presentation. I was given a task. So as a good student, I fulfilled my task to show the presentation. So I'm going to share this presentation with you now. Here it is. I hope you all see this as well as I do. So let me just see if this is going to work as a slideshow. Hopefully it will, because I've got some things presented that need to be fully. This is it. Okay, so thank you very much again for this wonderful opportunity, and I'm very pleased and honored to have such a huge audience in front of me. As you probably know, or maybe not know, Croatia is not that a big country when compared to India, so this is quite a huge audience for me. Generally, in my classrooms, when we have offline classes, I have around 20 up to 30 students, so this is 10 times more. So I'm even more grateful to have this audience and be able to heard from here so far away with such a huge group of people. So this is the slide where I want to show you where do I come from. So here's, of course, where you are. And this red dot is where actually at the moment I am. You can also here see the other yellow dots. So these are our Erasmus program partners all over the world. As you may notice, the huge amount of them are placed here in Europe and the majority in European Union. But we also work around the world with our colleagues from Canada, from Brazil, from South Africa, of course from India, and from Bhutan, which was mentioned, as well as from China and Japan. So we are almost present all around the world, and we are very grateful as well to have the opportunity to use this funding program of Erasmus to meet other cultures, meet other students and other teachers, which helps us a lot to kind of have this wide spread and understanding of different problems, different cultures, with very similar challenges waiting ahead of us. In this world of 21st century, especially this year, that has brought a lot of challenges, and it is our task to try to find answers to these questions that are raised upon us. So regarding Croatia, I'm going to be sending this presentation to the organizer. So there are quite a lot of resources you will be able here to click on and to follow, as this one, for example, because the time is very limited and I, of course, want you to see as much as possible. So I'm going to be sending this for you to have a look at and to study deeper if you will have enough time and enough interest, of course. So regarding Croatia, this is our flag. We have became a European Union member since 2013, so not that long ago. Here's our area and population, as you can see, is a little bit bigger than 4 million. We are predominantly Croats living in Croatia, and our predominant religion is Christians. Here are some economical data that you can read as well. So nominal GDP, our unemployment rate, our GDP per capita is 65% of European Union average. Also, you can see Human Development Index, Happy Planet Index as well, Corruption Perception Index, and our ecological footprint data. So what I would say is that we come across the average country of the European Union. Okay, so going back to our topic, what I want to share with you are some of the ideas that I came across that inspire me and that I try to find my inspiration in as a teacher and as a human in general. So these are two quotes from Heraclitus. He's one of the founders of the Western civilization. He actually was a Greek teacher who lived quite a long time ago, so 5th century before Christ. So regarding the changes that we are facing, one of his quotes is that the only thing that is constant is change. So we have to embrace this fact and be aware of the fact that the only thing that is constant is change. And it's not just for today, it has been happening since the humankind. So we do not have to place ourselves in a special position regarding the other times when humans were living. And we have to see a fact that we just came into a challenge, and we have to find ways to cope with them and to come across these challenges and try to find new pathways to solve the challenges and the problems facing us. So the other quote in connection to the first one, of course, is that he noted that no man ever steps in the same river twice. It's not the same river because it's, of course, floating, and it's not the same man as well because his ideas, his notions, he's changed every time that new things and new challenges happen to him. So this is where I want to start from, that we all have to embrace the fact that we are living in a changing times, but it's not a novelty to the humankind. It has always been happening since the world and since the humankind exists. So the question, of course, is what do we need to do to manage these challenges that are waiting ahead of us? So there are some ideas that you probably already know of regarding the helixes and the ways that management deals with the regardance of problem-solving ideas. So you probably are already embraced with triple helix and a quadrihelix and pentahelix ways to engage different stakeholders, as also was noticed by Mr. Rakesh earlier. So where have we come to? This is like the usual way of handling things, the pentahelix approach, which involves non-governmental organizations, mass media today, so government, business, and university in solving and managing different problems, in approaching the solvents of the problems from the top to the bottom. So the novelty here in this particular time has happened that we have, regarding the pandemic, the affected communities. So this is like the helix solution, where we have to engage the affected communities as well. It's also not a novelty, but the fact is that, as I have to say again, Mr. Rakesh has noticed that we have to include in our education, of course, and all the other problems, all the stakeholders that we can think of. Because when we put more heads to a place, then we know much better. There's a saying, I don't know if you know it in India, but here in Croatia, I'm going to try to translate in English. There's a saying that one head can never know as much as the whole heads of the world. So what does it mean? It means that the whole humanity has all the answers, but we are here to include more people, to share their ideas, and to try to find ways to make the solutions. Okay, so there's also a hexahelix model for leadership. So we have to also use not just different stakeholders, but different aspects as well of our knowledge. So our intelligence, our spiritualness, our verbal quotient, our narrative, our advisory, and also our emotional and social quotient. So these two helixes are the ones that kind of are predominant at the moment in trying to solve the problems that we have. But the question is it enough? When we think about future, will we need, as I got here, more stakeholders and more aspects of our leadership models? So there's this company called NanoHelix. I just got this for you to think about it. So is 9 going to be the number that's going to be like ideal in solving the problems? Or is it going to be, as I noted here, a never-ending helix? So does it mean that we, and I think that's the future, that we all have to include and that nobody needs to be left behind? Because in problems that we have never faced before as a global community, that is the change that has happened actually for the humankind, we need to involve as many persons as possible to try to solve the problems that we are facing. So what's the way to solve these problems? I think this is going to shock you a little bit, but I'm going to show it. And I hope that you recognize this person. He looks a little bit funny, but now when I open the next slide, everything's going to be clear. So hopefully you know, and you've had a chance to see that this is actually Albert Einstein. So what he has taught us is that we cannot solve our problems or challenges with the same thinking that we used to create them. So we have to find a new way of critical thinking to try to solve the problems that we are facing. So when we go to the education, now what I want to show you exactly is that UNESCO has found the 4 key pillars of education in its publication from Deloitte, which happened in 1996. And the thing is that these pillars are quite very simple. There are 4 of them, as I said, and they go to the knowledge. So what are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to teach our students? So we are supposed, as UNESCO recommends, to teach them to know, to do, to live together, and to be. There are some explanations here which I also found regarding these topics. So we are to learn them to know by combining a sufficiently broad general knowledge with the opportunity to work in depth on a small number of subjects. This also means that they are to benefit from the opportunities that education provides them throughout the life, which also Mr. Rakesh has mentioned. We need to think about long life learning. So it's a never-ending, as the never-ending helix, this is a never-ending process as well. In sociology, we say that's socialization, which kind of is a process which is adapting people to the culture that they live in, is a never-ending story. So the education actually is also a never-ending story. It never stops. So we have to teach them or to learn them to do, not to acquire only occupational skills, but also to have broader competence to deal with many situations, to work in teams or work as individuals, to do in a context of young people's various social and work experience, informal as well as formal. So we're not only learning in school, we are also learning wherever we are and whatever we do. So this is a result of the local or national context or through the international cooperation, which is widespread as well. So we have to learn them to live together, to develop understanding of people, to appreciate their independence and other people and other cultures' independence, to carry out also with this notion of joint projects, to learn to manage conflicts as well, and respect different cultures and different people's values, to value also pluralism, mutual understanding, and of course, the ground floor of it all is peace. And we have to learn them to be, so to develop one's and their personality, to be able to act with ever greater autonomy, judgment, and personal responsibility. In that connection, education must not disregard any aspects of a person's potential. So we have to include all that we can use to build a better world tomorrow. So it's memory, reasoning, aesthetic sense, physical capacities, and communication skills. I also want to show you what's Europe planning for the next decades, or a little bit shorter in this aspect. So there are quite numerous, you will see when I send the presentation, if you will have enough time to check more, because not that enough time and so many things to tell you. So what is Europe trying to do is written here. This is like a shortage of a plan which Europe focuses on in the next decade. So we're trying to work around European education area. So we want to bring education even more closer into the union that we are living in today. We also have planned, or the Commission has planned, an EU Digital Education Action Plan, and also a new Erasmus program frame, which will fit into 21st to 27. So these are the dimensions that you can read about that will bring the resilience, so which means like the flexibility, the elasticity in the education area, to make us more resistant to the new risks that are awaiting for us. So the first one, as you can see, is the quality in education and training, and it's quite big emphasis. There's quite a big emphasis in Europe, in Croatia as well, and in general in educational area on the quality assurance system. Probably you've heard of the topic. There's also this other topic, which means inclusion and gender equality. Mr. Rakesh has mentioned this problem of inclusion of the elderly, but it's not just the elderly, it's the vulnerable social communities, it's also the excluded, those ones who are not usually and very often have offered a chance to be in an educational system. This is a very important topic as well, green and digital transformation. It's one of the pillars of the European strategy, development strategy as well. The emphasis is going to be on the teachers and trainers to kind of equip them for the new world to come, and that has already arrived. The emphasis also has been put on the higher education, meaning that Europe wants to build up towards a huger population of tertiary educated people in general. And there's also a geopolitical dimension, which is maybe not that important at this moment whatsoever. So here are the emphasis in details. I'm going to skip those because I think the time is running and I have to hurry up a little bit. But as I said already, I'm going to send it for you to have a look at. And here are the notions of digital plan. So regarding the wish, but it's not just the wish, but the huge funding is going to be put into this frame as well to ensure and foster higher performing digital education ecosystem. So we need the infrastructure, we need the equipment, and Europe's going to support it as well. And to enhance digital skills and competencies for the digital age. So the fact that it's going to have to be green and digital in the same time. And regarding this, one of my favorite topics, Erasmus, because I also handled Erasmus for the last period, for 6 years at Polytechnic in Portugal, which enabled me, as our host has said, to travel quite a lot around the world and see different cultures. So what Erasmus as a funding scholarship has had a chance to do is, for example, just it's helping address match fixing and doping in sports. This one's important over the last 3 decades. So it exists for 30 years now in the Union, this program, this scholarship program. More than 10 million people have participated in the program. So they had a chance to study abroad, to work abroad, to do their practical training abroad, which helps them to acquire those skills that are vital for the globalized world that we live in. Okay, so going back to the global frame, I had a presentation a month ago at Jain. Maybe you have also been there. So I want to just go again to these ideas from the UNESCO, from International Commission of the Futures of Education. So what are we to do to prepare our educational system better? So we have to strengthen it as a common good. We have to see the fact that everybody has the right to it. So we have to collaborate more closely in the teaching profession as teachers, as guidance, as it was said before. So we have to promote inclusion of our main stakeholders, which are, of course, students. We have to protect and safeguard, and we have to take care of the security of those social spaces where education is held. We have to find a way to take out the focus of a profit from the education as well. We have to make it free and openly available as a source to different stakeholders who have interest in it, because not everybody can afford it. And it's one of the values that we have to take care of very cautiously. We also have to ensure scientific literacy regarding the fact that fake news are all the way around us. So we have to teach our students to be critical, to think, to be cautious, and to be scientifically written. so they can recognize and they can discard the fake news. So we have to protect domestic and international financing. And the ninth one, but not the least important, we have to be globally solidar and end current levels of inequality, which is not just caused by COVID, but which is caused by the Industrial Revolution and globalization for decades now. And I'm coming to an end finally. So this is what I found from the Chinese quality assurance system of higher education, just to show you how they managed. Now we're going back to those helixes that I've started with, how they managed to include different stakeholders into their internal quality assurance system. This is what we need to do frequently, and it's a never-ending story, as I already said. I also have here a European quality assurance system ESG standards, where you can see it's also the same model of a helix. And we need to find different ways how to include our different stakeholders and different ideas into our decision process making. As I already said before, it's quite a big emphasis in Croatia and in the Union in general regarding this aspect. So I hope it's the same in India as well. So we need to think with new ways of solving problems, but not the old ways as we used when we created the challenges and the problems ahead of us. And this is my conclusion. The crisis that we live in today in Chinese is said Weiji, and there are two signs describing it. So the first one's danger and the other one's opportunity. So this is what we need to think of as a crisis, as a new opportunity to bring us out from the old ways that obviously are not fit enough for the places and the world that we live in. And these are just the final notes that I want to give you. So life is not about waiting for the storm to pass, but learning to dance in the rain, which can also be wonderful. And this is one from the Aristotle. He was also one of the Greek philosophers. I hope you've heard of him. He also lived some place or some time in the 5th century and 4th century before Christ. So he said, it's not just enough to educate your mind, but you also have to educate your heart, because education is not just about mind, but also about your spiritual. Here's one from your Indian culture to give us all the strength to be quite brave in these challenges waiting. So it says from Mahatma Gandhi, he said that strength does not come from winning, but from different struggles that we face, and it develops us when you go through hardships and decide not to surrender. That is when you gain your strength for your future. And this is the last one for all of us, which is kind of unites the different cultures and different religions. It says that we are to treat the others as we would like ourselves to be treated by the others. So it's called the Golden Rule. I also hope that you have heard about it and that you know about it. And that's my last message to you with the presentation I'm finishing now. I thank you for your patience. And I thank you for the opportunity again. And I'm, of course, open for your questions, for your commentaries and suggestions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that extensive presentation. You can't have bath in the same river twice, Heraclitus, but we say that you can't have bath in the same river once also, because when you see the river, you've thought of something, but by the time you step into the river, something has happened. And thank you for those helix models, madam. Involving those stakeholders is so very important, because if I give you one coin and you give me one coin, we still have one coin each. But if you give me one idea and I give you one idea, we both have two ideas each. And talking about Albert Einstein, you can't solve the same problems. In fact, Albert Einstein was so humble that he had two cats. One was small and one was big. And they used to scratch in the evenings to come in. So to avoid that, he made two holes in his door. One a big one and a small one, so that the big cat and the small cat come in. And then after doing that, he scratched himself and he said, even a scientist like me makes mistakes. I could have made just one big hole for the big cat to come in and made 2 holes. So he said,
Yes.
I have to improve all the time. And that's what teachers also have to do. We also make
Yes.
mistakes and we also do that. Thank you so much, Barbara ma'am. It's a great pleasure having you all the way from Croatia. Next, we have Varun Jain from Miles Education. Varun sir, you can start your presentation.
So thanks, Dr. Rajdeep. And I think we've already had a great context setting into the changing paradigms in education. With Dr. Rakesh talking about understanding the learner of the 21st century. And I think Dr. Barbara's presentation gave us a global perspective, a lot of frameworks that we should put in place, in the context of higher education today. What I'm going to talk about is sort of get very specifically to a few initiatives in higher education that we're doing at Jain University. So I represent Miles Education, and I work closely with the Jain University top management to try to bring about the required changes, try to bring about the new frameworks in education as part of our university. One of the things that we've always strived at the university is to see how we can make sure that the students, the learners today, as they graduate, they are ready for the next generation roles. They have that ability to learn as they work through the dynamic environment. We focus on building in the problem solving mindset, and I think of course there is a lot to achieve, and I'm going to present a few slides with a few initiatives that which have been started at the university level, and of course also sync in very closely with the new education policy as well, in terms of making sure that as we are working on higher education, as we help college grads through the journey from school to the real world, to industry, they get ready for the next roles in their life, in their careers. So very quickly, a few slides, and then I think we'll see what we have from the rest of the panel. And so one of the things that we are working on here, of course, we're talking about the changing landscape in higher education. And with the changing landscape, with the changing learners, with the change in expectations, even today, right, when we see after college, and when we went out and spoke to the industry, to many companies, many organizations, in terms of let's say having students from campus joining them, the freshers joining them, and what did they have to say. And based on a lot of surveys, what we realized is there is a lot of skill gap in terms of what the industry wants versus what we are preparing students in the campus. So there's a little bit of a disconnect, there's a little bit of a gap between academia and industry. And I think with the new age roles coming in, with the new expectations, I think one of the important challenges, or one of the important things that educators, we as educators have to do, is try to make sure that we try to bridge that gap, try to make sure that students, as they graduate, they're ready for the industry, for the real world. And of course, there is also the role of the students, of the learners, in making sure that they're able to see, the end game here, in terms of getting out there and work backwards in terms of skills, the kind of exposure that they need to have as they head out, to the real world once they graduate. So, a little bit around, the progression of a student to a working professional, right? When we look at it from an education institution standpoint, when we look at it from the campus standpoint, we say, okay, hey, the campus is going to be preparing you, is going to be skilling you, is going to be making sure you have the knowledge, you have the right value system as you get out there, as you graduate, as you get placed. Now, working backwards from campus placements is where you have internships, where students get exposed to the corporate world. They learn the experience, the small gigs, And then before the internships, there's pre-internships and projects. And this is exactly one of the recommendations that, I'd given in, for the university. And of course, in general, in terms of how do we make learning more experiential? How do we ensure that the learners not just learn, concepts, but they're able to apply concept to real world context, right? So that's the agenda, and that's where projects and pre-internships come in. So, trying to use a very common framework which academicians around the world use to develop academic curriculum, to design teaching pedagogies, is the Bloom's taxonomy. Now, for the students in the call, when you look at this Bloom's taxonomy, right? Typically, when you start learning, it starts from the bottom of the pyramid, where you try to remember, you try to understand, right? So that's basics. When you start to learn a new concept, whether you're talking about let's say something in marketing, you're talking about something in sciences, you're talking about something in technology, right? So first thing you try to remember, you try to understand. And then as you move up, you start applying that, to new situations. You start analyzing things. You start drawing connection between ideas. We say you start connecting the dots, right? You start evaluating, and ultimately you create. Let's say, for an entrepreneur, we'd say, okay, create a business plan, right? For a techie, we would say create a new app, create a new platform, right? So that is exactly where it heads to. So, I think, with the changing dynamics of, education, one of the things, both for educators as well as for students, is how can we strive to get up on this triangle? How can we get up on the pyramid? The base is important, right? The base gets us there, but how can we aspire to move up this chain? And one of the suggestions here is, how about, besides a lot of teaching that we have in our curriculum, which is of course very, very important, students are proactive, academicians, educators are proactive in terms of making sure that students are able to apply what they have learned in class to a real world scenario, right? Apply what they have learned in class to a real world challenge, to try to solve something which is there. It could be for a for-profit company, it could be for a not-for-profit organization. That's fine, but applying that in the real world, and getting all the way to really create, so I was speaking to the chairman of Jain University, the chancellor now, Dr. Chenraj Roychan, and one of his, mission at Jain is to encourage entrepreneurship, create thousands of entrepreneurs who get out there, help, grow the economy, create jobs, and create value, right? So the point is, how do you move up? How do you connect what you've learned in college? Let's say when you try to be an entrepreneur in the real world, how do you connect what you've learned in college to create something out there, while you're graduating or once you graduate? So, the teaching pedagogy, that we have, needs to include a lot of these assignments, a lot of these case studies. We could call them projects, we could call them internships. So, you start applying what you learn. And I think that's one of the initiatives that, could help, with this, in this transition as we are moving on into an, education system, where we want to make sure that students who graduate are ready, for the real world, or they're ready to get in there. And of course, life is all about continuous learning. I'm not saying, everything can be taught at the university level. Folks will learn once they graduate, but whatever they've learned at the college level, at the university level, they're able to apply that. They understand what's the real world implication of every learning. So, again, the recommendation is applied learning, experiential learning, case analysis, projects, pre-internships, internships, to get students ready for this. Dr. Rajdeep, he spoke about, how in the class, the teacher is no longer a sage on the stage. The teacher, the teacher's role has now transformed, or rather has to transform, from a sage on the stage to a guide on the side. And I think that brings us to the new delivery model, which is the flipped classroom model. And I think this is, with COVID and everything moving online, this has become even more relevant. But I think it was as relevant even in the old face-to-face, classroom setting. So let's talk about this, right? So in a traditional classroom structure, you have a teacher who comes, the teacher is standing on the stage, of course, has a whiteboard or a blackboard, and the teacher teaches all the concepts in the class, all the lectures in the class, and then the teacher gives homework, right? There's this homework, there are assignments where students are expected to apply, the concepts to context, to situations, and those are basically all given as homework. The students go out there and do that, and that's basically a traditional setting. Now we're saying, okay, hey, let's flip it. Let's bring homework to the class and send classwork back home. So instead of students actually learning concepts in class, they would learn concepts at home, right? It could be via, let's say, pre-recorded video sessions, right? Or any kind of materials which help students, sit down, let's say, in front of a laptop, look at a few videos and make sure they know the concepts. And when they come to class, the classroom is about concept to context. The classroom is about applying the concepts into a real life scenario. Let's say the class is divided into groups. Let's say, the class could be divided into, let's say a class of 60 could be divided into 10 groups of 6 each. And all the 10 groups are working on, let's say, 10 different projects or 10 different activities or tasks. Try to apply, the concept to a real life context. And the job of the teacher is no longer to stand on the stage and, and of course, teach concepts, because concepts have happened at home. But instead, the teacher is more a guide on the side, helping each group, apply concept to the task, to the activity, to the project at hand. So that's basically the flipped classroom concept. And I think, this has been experimented, tested around the world. This is becoming part of mainstream education, and I think this is, in a lot of ways, revolutionizing the way education happened. In a traditional classroom versus today a flipped classroom, where the concepts go home, the concept to context, the application, the assignments, they are the ones, they are those which are happening as classroom activities. Now the question is, how do we, help apply concept to context? And of course, one is, we say, internships where students get out there to the industry. But how about project-based learning, right? So projects in from various companies on various themes. So let's say if there's a marketing class going on, we're talking about various marketing projects that the 10 groups are working on, while the teacher acts as a guide on the side, making sure or helping the students, apply concept to context. And then, of course, at the end of the task or assignment, each of the 10 groups come and present to the rest of the class, what they've done. So again, project-based learning. And I think one of the things that we're looking at is how do we integrate experience with learning, right? So I think that's the the recommendation that I would have, being an educator myself, is how do we integrate experience with learning? And so we say experience learning, right? So how do we make learning more experiential? And for all of us who graduated many years back, are working in various capacities, for all of us, as we are earning experience, I think all of us are learning every day, right? So what we're doing is, again, experience learning. So that's I think one of my recommendations, Dr. Rajdeep, as far as the changing landscape in higher education is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Varun, for telling us that experiential learning is so very important. And it's always said that 1 gram of action is more than a ton of knowledge. And what you told was absolutely right. I remember when my 9th standard, our principal came to our class once, and he told us that, you all had a physics test last week. We said, yes, sir. And he said, one pair of students have answers which are very similar to each other, and I think you all have copied. And if that pair of students doesn't come and confess by 4 in the evening, they will be rusticated from school. So that was there, and he went off. We were around 40 students in that class. By 4 o'clock, around 15 pairs of students went and confessed. The next day, he came to our class and he said, I'm amazed by the way you all have done things, but Next week, you are going to have a test, physics test, and there is not going to be any invigilator. You'll have to learn by experience. And this time, if there is anything which is similar, I'm not going to talk to anything. Your class will be out of the school. You should have seen there were no invigilators, nobody on that day of the physics test, nobody even turned. If anybody used to turn, everybody used to say, shut up and look at your paper. And we learned the great lesson of self-discipline that day by just one teacher teaching us what self-invigilation is all about. So thank you, Varun, for that wonderful talk about experiential learning. And last but not the least, we have Dr. Anil Kumar. Sir, you can go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for being me here. So I would like mostly to compare being in the IT for quite some time. Last few years I've been completely into IT and technology related work. So I would rather like to compare, the challenges we had in IT as well as in the education sector, and try to see what are the opportunities. Like every challenge, as Barbara said, it's an opportunity. So things are going to change. So how things are going to change, like some of the thoughts on, my thoughts on, how things will change in the future after this lockdown. So I worked from home for the last 9 months. We closed down our office around March 20th. And then even today, everyone works from home. I work from home. And it is made possible using technology. Technology in the sense, IT is one part, and there are other components like power, electricity, internet, a lot of things are there. So, but, because of IT and other related technologies, we were able to move on. Similar is the case with the education. Like all the schools are, even today, the schools are not open. Even IT is also not open. If you see in Kerala, like the Info Park, Techno Park, everything is closed, and only maybe 5% of the employees come to the office for work. So everything happens from home. Even the teachers sit at home and they take classes for their students. They conduct exams. They take assignments. Conferences are happening, workshops are happening, exhibitions are conducted. Everything is, online, and it is happening. We are able to move. And if we ask like the efficiency of my employees, it's 90%. Most of them are able to deliver what we expect them to deliver. And even if you take the case of education, courses are being conducted, and it is successful, mostly successful, with some problems or challenges also in between. And we do recruitment online, we do onboarding online, we do training online, and we also do everything on. And people do work from their home, and they deliver the products. And even our clients in India and outside, they also sit at home and then conduct their business. So it's basically everything is technology enabled. So that means technology is going to make some changes. Even after the lockdown, things will change. Technology will assist you in changing the way everyone works, whether it is IT or teachers or educational institution, whoever is working will change the way they're going to work. So the point there is like, technology can disrupt. Sometimes, a technology disruption can, change everything, totally. Things will abruptly change and you will lose your relevance. Then what were the challenges we faced? Like, a challenge, every challenge is an opportunity. So if you compare our business like IT, work from has, problems were mostly uninterrupted power and internet, because these employees were, their homes were from remote areas. So they had a lot of problems with internet, power. That was one of the difficulties. That's where, we need to improve our infrastructure. Second was like, there was no fixed time. So most of them started complaining, they have increased work time, because, they are available all the time. So people started communicating and then asking them to do things, and that increased their fixed work time to a flexible, more, enhanced time. And they missed a lot of physical events, physical activities, meetings, tours, in terms of business. And some of them also had some of the psychological issues, like in terms of they are disappointed sitting at home for long months, so they wanted to come to office. Everybody is ready to come to office. Similar is the case with students, I know. And what happened is some of them even traveled to the IT parks, then stayed there for some days, and then they have gone back. And some business were badly affected. We were not affected, but some of the companies were very badly affected. Now, in the case of education, again, infrastructure was one problem with many students. They couldn't have a computer or a network, proper network, to join the online classes and continue their study. Parents were more engaged. Like if you see from the perspective of parents, they had to be more engaged. They had to monitor their kids. More of the jobs which teachers were doing slowly transferred into parents. And another challenge was assignments and examinations, where you need to make sure, okay, the student is doing it by themselves. Technology has some weakness there, so many of the examinations, some of the universities which conducted examinations, there were malpractices. They had to cancel it. So that's one area where technology has to come up with more advanced tools and technologies. Some other thing was like practical and lab sessions. So why I'm saying all this is, all these are problems where people will suddenly will come up with solutions in short period of time. Practicals and lab sessions, that was another area where students were struggling in. They really missed the campus life, and some of them had again psychological issues like sitting at home and not seeing friends and not chatting with friends. Those issues were there. And the challenge for the teachers, like I would say, like the teachers, the way teaching will go will change. Teachers will have to reinvent, like if you are a physics maths teacher, and if there is one online course comes in which is very good, so people can go and take that. Now what is this other thing that teacher can do? So the way educational institutions or teachers giving training to students, it has to change from a more theoretical way of working to a more practical way of engaging the student in understanding what they learned, and then making sure they have understood the things properly. So it can change. Now there are good things also in business. I would say some of the good things are, we have the confidence now that employees can work from home, and our clients have the confidence that even if employees work from remote places, there is no issue. Okay. And for the employees, they reduce their expenses in terms of rent, travel, food. They saved a lot of money. And similarly, companies could reduce their salaries. So even then, employees' earnings were not affected because their cost has went down. And we have wider talent availability. Like now we can recruit a person from any place, and because he is working from home, the location of a employee is not important. That means, on the other way, if you see it, even if you are from a village or a remote place, you can get a job in a company in a metro very easily, because you can still work from your home. So we have a wider talent availability, and some of them benefited by sitting at home in terms of sitting with very small kids. Some of pregnant employees, lady employees, they benefited during their pregnancy time. And some of them had parents who are not well, so got time to look after them also. So being with family is one of the most important positive thing we found. And we also see as an opportunity, what we can see is now there are many educated people sitting at home but not working, like housewives and others. They can start working because now they can upskill or they can reskill, and then they can take some courses from some online university, and they can start working. So we get more the people who really have very good degrees, and some of them may have experiences, still not able to work because they have to sit at home. Now this is a proposition where you can sit at home and also work, so that helps. Even retired people at the age of 55 or 58, you retire, No, see what the retired person is the most experienced resource. They can work part-time, they can work online for companies, for educational institutions. That's a lot of human power, we can use. Expenses of the company reduced in terms of power and etc. That was some relief to us. And we need less infrastructure. We don't need big buildings. Even if you take the case of an educational institution also, you may not need very huge infrastructure in future. And clients also started getting more confidence, so more outsourced work can come. So after this lockdown period, mostly the sector, IT sector, will boom in terms of, because everybody want to digitize, everybody want to have a digital revolution, digital transformation. So more and more opportunities will come in the air. And this particular problem has also bring in a lot of ideas and new products. Even you can see like video conferencing solutions, and even solutions to monitor employees at home, whether they are in front of the computer, they are working, or what they are working, what they are seeing. There are kind of new products which came in, which helps in continuing the uh, working. So in the case of education, like some of the good things are like some of the parents got a chance to see how their kids are attending the classes, how they are performing, what are the attention problems they have. Some of them really talked to me and they were saying like it was a good opportunity to understand what was the real problem with them. And this will give students an opportunity to take multiple courses. Like, even if a commerce student, if he likes to learn data science or artificial intelligence, he has the option now to take an online course, certify in that, and then move to a different career. So, most often in the admissions, you don't get admission to the course which you wanted to, because you have some dream jobs and dream career, which most of the students don't get it. But now this online learning is an opportunity where you can learn whatever course you are interested in from any university out in the world. Like you can take a foreign course, you can certify in that, and then you can start a career, of your favorite subject or favorite area of study. So from the perspective of educational institutions, now you have more options to get more students from all over the world. It's not limited to students from your region or your country. People, students, if you're good, your quality is good, students can join from anywhere. And you will need less infrastructure. So this was a trend during the lockdown period. As if you ask me, is this trend norm going to continue or as is? No, it's not going to continue as is. There will be changes, because the lessons learned from here will help us to change the way we do business, or we do run the campus or colleges in the future. So some of the things that may change in the business as well as the educational sector, and what is the synergy, like how it helps. So in business, you will see like since companies have, as I said, confidence to allow employees to work from home, more and more people can start working from home. And even it'll be a mix, like some employees can opt to work from home, some can even come to the office and work. So there will be a balance between work from home and work from office. And companies can reduce their expenses in terms of infra. That helps a lot. And as I said, more talent availability. And business will move mostly to cloud, because when you have a problem, one of the problem was like if you have a data center, or area where you have to be there physically to work, was a restriction. So now a lot of cloud business will come in. People will start moving their applications and data to cloud, and so that you can work from anywhere. That will be a change which is going to happen in the business area. And most of the services will be delivered at home. Even today, the teachers taking the classes are delivered at students' home. They are sitting at home. So more and more services will get delivered to your home. So technologies will be developed. More and more technologies will be developed even for classes. Technologies like augmented reality will be used, which will give a more concrete kind of classroom experience to the students. And more students will be able to work while they study. They'll be able to get more internship, because now one of the limitations for us to take an intern is you need a space, you need some infrastructure for them to sit and work. Now, since you can work from home, companies will be able to probably more intern, and the students will be able to take more part-time work. There are a lot of work can be done from home in terms of even data entry or kind of translations, etc., which will be more, and companies will be more confident in doing such kind of works. So more contract jobs and short-term jobs can come. In terms of what does it mean is like for a short term we can hire somebody, get the job done, and then he works from home. After that the contract ends. In the education sector, so institutions will be mostly, this is my thought, like institutions are not like taking classroom classes. Instead of that, institutions will build facilities like lab facilities. They will provide contact classes. They will be examination centers and certification centers. Now one of the problem here is if you do an online course and certify, there is no guarantee that that person has really done that course and gone through all the assignments and got the certificate credibly. So this is where some of the institutions can offer certification as a certification center, wherein whoever taken a class can come to the institution and then write an exam or conduct a lab, and then the institution can give a certificate. That certification will have more values. And institution can take multiple admissions. So why do you have to limit admission once in a year? So you can take multiple admissions multiple times, because you can conduct online education system as well as the traditional one in parallel. So you conduct more online courses and more online courses, wherein the students can register any number of times, say 2 or 3 times in a year. So have more admissions in a year and more examinations in a year, like JEE now conducting multiple examinations. Students can appear any 1 or 2 and get the best, and then join the next thing. And you can take course from anywhere in the world, across the world. So that gives you an opportunity to take a course from a foreign university, and then or you can offer a course for foreign students too. Competition will be higher, so you need to ensure that the way they work and teach now. More and more people will start taking online courses. See, the online courses now, it's not limited to students alone. So whoever joins our company, we at least ask them to take 4 or 5 courses in a particular area. So they take online courses from, now it is taken from Udemy or Coursera or sites like that. So if universities can offer more online practical oriented courses, even the employees will try to join that. A lot of people sitting at home to upskill, they will be able to take these courses and then rejoin, continue their career. That's another opportunity. Students can take multiple courses in parallel. Why do you have to limit study one course? Probably they can take some online courses in parallel and then upskill themselves.
Sir, we are
And
running
offer,
out of time, sir.
I have
We
two
are
more
12.
points. Yeah, I know.
It's 12:30 already. So sorry, sir. Yeah.
You can offer more specialization and include the classes and sessions from industry people, wherein they will have more experience, work experience. The classes will be more attractive and more useful. And that's all. With that, I conclude.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you Thank you very much. We have to make the classes more engaging, because this scenario of blended learning might stay. I remember a teacher had come once to our class. He bought 2 identical sheets of A4 paper and he said, "Is the weight the same?" We said, "Yes." And he said yes, and he put it on a weighing scale, and the weight was around 2 grams each. Then he crumpled one paper, and he said, is the weight of this crumpled paper the same as that of the plain paper? Some said yes, some said no. But most of us said yes, and when he put the crumpled paper, it weighed around 2.1 mg. And he said, don't take decisions in haste. Remember the air which gets trapped in this particular paper. So if you can make those classes engaging, and as you said, a slew of products, sir, 100%, especially in the health and immunity section. Just in the last few days, I've seen hundreds of products come out for the COVID, and very bizarre products. There is Aquafina has released a water which is 300% more oxygen to build your immunity. I was wondering, why do we need more oxygen in water? Are we fish? So I think their ad line should be, do we have gills? And there is one product, Kellogg's has come out with a product. My son bought a carton the other day which said one bowl of Kellogg's has 7 grams of iron. I almost spit out my cornflakes. I thought I was eating iron flakes. And Britannia fruit cake, 70% fat free. Amazing. Means imagine you ask your friend or your wife or your husband today evening, are you free? And he says 70% free. I don't know how you'll feel. But anyway, all these products have come out, and with that note, we have run right out of time. I thought we were going to have 4 rounds, but we're going to have only one more round now. We'll open the floor for questions from the audience. Vandana, if you can read just 2 or 3 questions so that we can wind it up very quickly. Yeah.
Sure, sir.
And then we'll have the final words from all the participants, just one line each here.
Yes, sir. There are no questions as of now. If in case they post any questions, I will read them out.
Good. Okay. So we are going to, if there are no questions from the audience, we'll just have one parting statement, the motto of what you think organizations should do, and what is your motto for education.
Stop video.
Yes. Can we is there any questions, or should we move to the participants for their final parting words? Vandana?
Yes, sir. So they say on the chat box, some Dr. Ramakrishnan TR, post-pandemic, based on the economic conditions, consumer behavior could change based on the idea of situated learning and legitimate peripheral participation, where process of learning is within the communities of practice, could evolve to learn from registered online courses and take well-crafted homework to the communities of practice. What is the panel's take on this?
My God, it'll take 10, 15 minutes to understand that question. So, amazing words. I loved the usage of words. Rakesh, you want to comment on that question?
Sir, Rakesh sir is not there. He got logged out because of poor
logged
connection.
out. Anybody understood that question? I didn't understand it. So, okay, we'll give a prize to anybody who understands that question and gives the answer later. We'll give you whoever answers this question from Ramesh, we'll keep it as a because it was really tough to understand. Whoever answers will get free vaccination from Jain University. Okay. Okay. So I think so. We'll have a parting statement. Ramakrishna sir, we'll take this question offline. We'll give it to the panelists and let them take a day to understand it and then answer. Thank you so much. So, Barbara ma'am, any one line you want to part with?
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. It was wonderful joining you. I hope we'll have more opportunities in the future to discuss these topics. So this is a great organization. I also would like to thank your new colleague and my old colleague, Harish, who invited me to this, whom I met first when I visited your lovely country a couple of years ago. And I hope to find new ways to work and to collaborate together to change our future to better. What I would like to say as my closing line is that we all need to think of ways how to judge no one, just to improve ourselves.
Very nice.
In the sense of individual and in the sense of the collective.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Don't judge, don't have any prejudice, and move on in life. Okay, good. Sir, Varun, you want to say any parting words, your motto or your education, and what do you think we should do?
So I think we're doing fine. There's of course a lot of things that we could do to improve, work on it. There'll always be continuous learning. my take was experience learning. This is for universities, even for organizations where we need to work on continuously learning new skills, upgrading ourselves. And I think I'll part with the quote from Nelson Mandela, which says education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Very powerful words. And finally, Anil Kumar sir, one last parting line from you, sir.
Thank you for this opportunity. Just one last line. Be open to change, accept and adopt new changes, keep reinventing for your survival as well as growth.
Wonderful. So
Thank you
wonderful.
all.
Keep reinventing yourself and keep yourself open to change. Wonderful. Today, coincidentally, is December 22nd, which is the winter solstice. It's the shortest day. That means we have a longest night. And from tomorrow, the days will become longer and longer till June 22nd. That's the summer solstice. So it is very symbolic that from tomorrow, after the seminar, the light is going to get better and better. So we will shed light on this education. There's a beautiful saying which I want to end with. It's better to light the candle than to curse the darkness. So let's light this candle of education and keep the symbolism going that the days are going to become longer and longer, and we'll have more bright sunshine, we'll have more light, and let this light of education illuminate this world. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Back to you, Varun.
Thank you so much, sir, for all that motivation and for throwing light on education. We will now break for lunch, but before we break for lunch, there are a few guidelines to all the presenters. Participants need to be present for the entire session. Kindly log in 10 minutes before the scheduled time. Feedback form is to be filled for all the sessions. Kindly mute your audio and turn off your videos at all times. The presenters will be allowed to share the screen with a maximum of 10 slides. Each participant will get 5 minutes for presentation and 2 minutes for the question and answer session. The presenters need to give the attendance to the faculty in charge of the track for the research paper presentation. Participants will receive the certificate within 15 days of the conference. Please check the Zoom lines for your individual tracks and log into the Zoom lines accordingly. I repeat, please do check your Zoom lines according to the track that you're placed in and then log in accordingly. Thank you once again. Have a great lunch. The feedback form has been posted in the chat box. Do not forget to fill the feedback form. Thank you so much. Have a nice lunch, everyone. We will be back for the paper presentations.